guys, so I am back, and excuse how my lip looks. Like, my lip is a little swollen. I got my little piercing yesterday or whatever. But in today's video, y'all, we are going to be discussing all things Young Miami. Shout out to you, Young Miami. She recently did my lip, like, this is crazy. But anyways, the show must go on. She recently did a sit-down interview with Charlamagne the God on his platform. I guess because she has been putting out a lot of music, and you know, she is making her comeback or whatever since the split between her and JT. So, you know, shout out to you, Young Miami. I do want to say though, before I even jump into, y'all know how I get down, right? She looked very nice. She looked very nice in the video. She looked classy. She looked elegant. Like, I love the hairstyle that she had on with the outfit. Like, it really did go together. So whoever picked that outfit out and told you to do that hair, or if it was you, whatever the case is, girl, yes, clock that. So shout out to you. So let's just jump right in, y'all. I'm doing things a little different today because Young Miami, I watched the interview, right? I actually watched it multiple times, and oh god, I don't mean to laugh. I'm kind of nervous, to be honest with you, you know, but we're gonna get this shit done. You know, I watched the interview multiple times because I just wanted to make sure that I was seeing everything that I was seeing, making sure that I was dotting my I's and crossing my T's, you know, and I actually took notes, and yeah, so I'm going to be looking at my notes because I have points of things that I want to really discuss. You know, I'm not going to be talking about everything in the interview that they talk about and stuff like that, but I'm going to be touching on the things that truly matter to me, and I think that, you know, we all should expound on these things, right? Because I believe, like, not only do we all go through our own individual things, like experiences that we go through in our lives, but we can all learn from each other. You know, that's basically, you know, how I've lived my life thus far. You know, I haven't necessarily gone through every single situation that you can ever imagine. No, I've been through a lot, right? But I've also learned so much by just watching other people's lives, you know, watching this person's life, watching this person's experiences, and how they maneuver through this, and how they went through this, and, you know, like, it's just incredible, you know, the examples and the experiences and just the shit that God puts before our eyeballs that you can use as a learning lesson for your life and yourself, if only you just pay attention. You know, it does take a different kind of focus, you know what I mean? Because you cannot look at somebody's life and situation from a judgmental standpoint. You know, I'm not judgmental. You know, people can come to me with whatever, and, you know, I will give you the best advice that I can give you. I would listen to you and actually listen to you and try to help you. You know, I'm very compassionate. So let's get right into it. So she looked very good in the interview, all right? I am gonna give you those props, girl, but we have to do a deep dive on you, Young Miami, because I see there are some things within you that need a little bit of help, right? So I just want you to know, if you ever see this, I don't mean anything that I'm about to say with malicious intent, right? I am a sincere, good person. You know, I don't have any hate in my heart. I don't wish bad on anybody. I'm here to help, right? Because sometimes we can't always see our own blind spots, you know? We can't always see the shadow work that we need to work on, you know? And then I'm sure with the status that you have so many yes men around you, and nobody's really keeping it P with you, you know? Gee, real. So I'm gonna be that person for you. You're not gonna like me after this video, but I promise you, maybe 10 years, 15 years, 20 years down the line, you will come back and you will say, you know what? At the time, I didn't really appreciate the video. I didn't like it, I'm gonna be honest with you. I wanted to chop your head the fuck off. But now that I think about it, you a real bitch, you know, you kept it real with me, and I needed to hear that, and, you know, I thank you, you know, and I ask that you forgive me, you know, for clapping back, or whatever, blues ain't blue. So anyways, y'all, let's get right into it. So, at around 4 minutes and 41 seconds, Charlamagne asked her, like, to describe herself, you know, something like that. And I'm giving you guys the timestamps because I just want you to know that I'm no capping ass bitch, right? I want you all, if you feel the call to do it, go back, watch the interview, check the time points, you know, and see if you can clock the T that I've clocked, you know what I'm saying? Or go fact check my work. I'm no capping ass bitch. So let's proceed. So at around 4 minutes and 41 seconds, Charlamagne was asking her something about, like, you know, to describe herself, you know, and she basically said, well, I think that I'm real, raw, and authentic, and she said that she is not strategic. That point alone, and actually I skipped my first point, but we can come back to that. So yeah, she was like, I think I'm real, raw, authentic, and I think that I am not strategic. So that point right there stood out to me, because why would you consider yourself not strategic? Being strategic is a very good thing. It means that you are methodical. It means that you actually think before you do, right? And, you know, being strategic also means that you're very intuitive, right? You don't just lead with the 5 senses that we all have, right? But you actually listen to that inner knowing within you as well. Being strategic means that you are smart as fuck, because only a strategic person can think before they do something. You don't just go and rob a bank. No, you sit and think, well, if I do this, the possibilities of me getting caught is 10 times out of 10, and I am most likely going to jail, right? So you're also smart. And, you know, being strategic is also, you move with boundaries. You don't just let somebody walk all over you, because you know who you are and you have respect for yourself. So you put those boundaries in place for people to respect you and to respect your shit and whatever else you know you stand for. And being strategic is also to not move with loose energy, very chaotic, very fucking scatterbrain ass bitches, you know. Your energy is structured, you know. So I don't like the fact that she considered herself not strategic. That's kind of crazy to me. So now let's go to the beginning, right? I did skip this first point. At the very beginning, Charlamagne asked her something about, like, you know, how does she see herself in the long run, right? Something like that. And she says that she thinks she wants to be, and she thinks that she can be, the next Black Oprah. And he said, the next Black Oprah. Well, Charlamagne said, the next Black Oprah, she's already the Black Oprah. So what do you mean by that? And she said, well, you know, I want to be the next black Oprah. So she says she means like the Black Oprah from the hood, you know? I think she's delusional at this time in her life, because do you know how much work a person has to put into themselves internally and externally to become such high stature of where Oprah is at. Oprah is a billionaire. You don't become that overnight, right? And you don't become that being materialistic. You don't become that way being not strategic. You see what I'm saying? So I think at this point in her life, she is delusional in a bad way, because you can also be delusional in a good way, such as believing in your goals and your dreams, right? You have to believe it before you see it anyway, right? So yeah, that's that. Now we're going to jump to around 15 minutes and 50 seconds. They were talking about the whole Diddy situation and how, Charlamagne basically was asking her, well, how do you feel about, Diddy going to jail and, you still being connected to him? We heard and we know that you were writing letters to the judge for him to be released. And she basically says that she doesn't want to detach from Diddy, which means that she has attachment issues. She clearly said, and I quote, she said, "I can only judge off of what I see." And I think that's kind of crazy, right? Because like we were just talking about in the beginning, you can always learn from somebody else's mistakes, right? So you telling me, right? Because this shit really fucked my head up. So you telling me, Young Miami, that because Diddy didn't necessarily beat on you and hurt you and steal from you and do all these heinous things to you, you can't believe that he's capable of something like that because it did not actually affect you. That makes no sense. So she's basically saying she does not believe Cassie. She does not believe the victims. She doesn't even believe the government for convicting, arresting, and sending that man to jail for the shit that he's done. I think she's suffering from major attachment issues in regards to Diddy. Diddy was a very powerful man, and if he realigns himself, and this is not about Diddy, but we are going to move forward, but I do have to say this. If Diddy seeks forgiveness from the Lord and from his motherfucking self and the people that he hurt, he can make a major comeback. I believe that, right? But he's gonna have to do work. He's gonna have to actually do some real work, internally, because the shit that he has done throughout his entire career is fucked up. Stealing people's bodies and giving up fucking 360 deals and beating on bitches and hurting bitches and setting bitches up and, doing this and doing, it's crazy. It's crazy. So for her to say, well, I can only judge from what I see. So because you didn't see him beat Cassie, you don't believe that he did it. Big confirmation. So because he didn't do it to you, you don't believe it, which is why she was writing the letters. And I think that, attachment issues is very dangerous, right? To be attached to things that are no longer serving you, right? At a time, Diddy served a really great purpose in her life. He exposed her to all the luxury things she could ever be exposed to. Yachts, parties, luxury items, new houses, cars, clothes, money and hoes, right? But at the same time, you have to know when to let that go. I think she is too attached to the materialistic realm. Obviously, she has a lot of work to do internally. And we're all on our own spiritual journeys, right? We're all not going to be learning things at the same time, and we're all not going to be, making the same moves as the next person. No, you're on your own individual spiritual journey, right? And it is truly up to you to figure it out, with help, of course, with people like me, shine a light on them. I'm going to shine a light on you because she needs a lot of help, right? Now, with that being said, like I was saying, because he exposed her to so much, things that she was not used to, I think she formed an attachment, right? Not only to the stuff that was provided to her, but she formed an attachment to him because he was the one providing it, right? So that's all I have to say about that. I think she should really detach from Diddy because, he provided you with Carisha Please and business deals and brand deals and, all these luxury cars and houses and clothes and money and success that you've always dreamed of, but I think what she needs to understand is that you are already Young Miami. You are already Young Miami. If you just take the time to do the internal work and then stand in your authentic self, right? Because you're no longer in a group. Do the internal work, stand in your authentic power, be who the fuck you want to be, and you can accumulate all that shit by yourself. You never need it. What I'm trying to say is, you never truly needed Diddy. I don't know who the fuck needs to hear this right now, but you never truly needed Diddy. Yeah, he came across your journey, he exposed you to all these great things, yada, 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 but you could have done that for yourself. Do you know how powerful you are, Young Miami? You are powerful. You have only been able to get to where you are today by the grace of God, number one, and two, because of the self-belief that you have in yourself. Many people will go on in their lives and never reach their dreams and goals, but you did, because you are strategic. You do believe in yourself some sort of way. You do believe in God. Even if it's a small mustard seed that you're carrying around of faith, you do believe in God because you have made it this far. And people don't make it this far for no reason. We can move on to the next point. The next point is at 21 minutes exactly. So at around 21 minutes, they started talking about the whole City Girls situation. She's known for being in the City Girls girl group with her and JT, and they recently broken apart. So they're both doing their own individual things, right? Which I think is great, right? I love when people just do their own thing. Not to say that I don't like groups, right? Groups is cool, but when you decide that one day I'm going to stand in my own power for my motherfucking self, that is a major move. So Charlamagne was basically trying to get her to speak on why did they break up? Did they ever do they still speak to this day? Will they ever get back together? Things like that. And what I want people to understand about this, we're going to now talk about JT, right? Because Young Miami says something, she says something very important, and I think people need to understand this. She said, Charlamagne asked her, do you think that when JT went to prison, she came back a different person, like she changed? You know, do you think that's what it was that broke you guys apart? And Young Miami says, well, when JT came home from jail, she was different. Like, she changed. You know, I think that jail changes people because, you know, her mother, for those of you who do not know, her mother actually did time as well when she was, you know, throughout her life, because her mother used to actually be a booster. For those of you who do not know what that is, boosting is when you are a professional thief and you resell the items for like a higher profit. So she basically was saying, yes, she does think that JT came home different and blah, 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 right? So I want to expound on that. Of course, JT came home different. She was locked up in a pen. Me personally, I haven't been in jail, you know, but I can only imagine, right, what that does to a person, you know, to be locked away, no freedom, no real human, no, like away from your family, your friends, your life, like you're just locked away, you know. And that's a spiritual, that jail is not only just like physical, right? It's not only like, okay, you get locked up, boo, boo, boo. Going to jail and prison is a spiritual thing, right? Because no human was ever designed to be locked nowhere, no way, right? So there's that. So for her to go ahead and do a year and change that she did and then come back, I see the change in JT. I don't know if anybody else can see it, but I see it. I see how she came home and she's focused on her loving relationship with her man, regardless of what the public thinks about that. She excuse me, she's focused on her solo. She detached from the group and she is focused on her solo career, and she's been doing good. You know, she slowed down a little bit, but she was popping. What was it, last year or whatever? She was doing her thing, you know. And you know, clearly she's a fashion girl because she's walking runways. She's, you know, rubbing elbows with people that she need to rub elbows with, and she's doing her thing. So I want to clap it up for JT, y'all. JT is doing amazing, you know. And now back to Carisha. Carisha, see, they're different. These two women are two different women. You know, JT is not a mother yet. You know, JT is very talented in many different ways. JT is a Sagittarius, right? So Sagittarius are people that need freedom. They don't like to feel locked up and choked up and fucking, you know, too I hate to say it this way, but like too buddy with people and shit like that. You know, they really thrive on freedom and travel and exploration. They love to do their own thing, you know. Whereas Young Miami is different as well, you know. Young Miami, she loves friendship. Young Miami is a mother of two. You know, Young Miami is enjoying dating, right? Young Miami, you know, she cares about music, but I don't think she is as passionate as JT, right? And Young Miami is also an Aquarius, right? So these two women are different. JT is over here on the fire sign side of things, and here we go, Young Miami is on the Aquarius side, the air sign side. You know, she's an air sign. So I do just want to say this, right? I'm gonna end it on this note. I think us as the world, right? I think us as the world, Charlemagne, these media platforms, all these fucking people that are like, y'all are pressuring these two women to like, oh, when are y'all gonna get back together? And, you know, or you think y'all ever gonna make music together again? And when are y'all gonna do this? Do you guys talk? And blah, blah, blah. These women have clearly grown apart. Not to say that they don't love each other still, because Young Miami, she expressed in the video that she still loves JT, that JT still speaks to her children, you know, and she says that she loves that even though they don't really speak. She says she does believe that right now they need space, and she's right. I think that the world has a hard time accepting change, right? When you go through changes within yourself and then it reflects in your physical life, a lot of people that know you one way, they can't seem to really understand and understand that you changed and now you're a new person. You transform. You know, it's like a caterpillar. Like a lot of people can't even understand the truth about butterflies. You know, what happens to a butterfly, right? God's special animal. Like, they go into a cocoon. That's their solitude. That's their isolation. That is their time when they are cooking the fuck up. And then one day, when they are done doing the work that they have done in their cocoon, they come out as a brand new being, a butterfly. That's incredible, you know? So, you know, I think the world, I say all that to say, the world needs to stop holding people so accountable to their past. Yes, they were in a group. They were a very successful group. They made money together. They grew together. They came up together. They toured together. They even shared the same periods. Do you know how in sync they had to be to share a period with someone? That means that spiritually, you all are connected in a real way, because that don't just happen with anybody, right? So, and Young Miami spoke about that in the interview. She was like, yeah, like we used to be on tour and I used to get my period and she was already on her period, and then I used to be like, bitch, you got a tampon because my period just came. Like, that shit is deep, you know? So I just want the world to learn to accept when people grow apart. It's okay. And to accept when people decide to change for themselves. Everybody is not meant to stay the same. If you choose to stay the same in your life, then that's you. And that's your story. But that's not everybody's story. There's some people out in the world that they want to change. They want to become better people. They want to evolve. And I fuck with that shit. And I fuck with both of these ladies. And I think what they're doing is incredible. And I think they're both going to go on to do amazing fucking things in their lives. And maybe they'll come together. Maybe they'll come back together in the future. Only God knows that, you know? But for now, let's respect them as individuals. And let's stop trying to force this fucking... Let's just stop trying to force shit. It's not what it is. It's not what it was, you know? Let's accept what is. So we can move on to the next point. This is going to be a very long video. So my next point that I want to talk about is... All right, in this part, I have to take it down a notch because this is... a very sensitive topic for me and her, and for you all, I believe, as well. So Charlemagne wanted to expound on her relationships and her motherhood as well, and this was around 30 minutes. I don't know if I said that already. Charlemagne was basically asking her, you know, basically about grief, right? He started off talking about grief first, right? He started talking about how, I don't know if you guys know, but she actually lost her first child's father a few years ago. I believe to gun violence. I'm not necessarily sure, which is very sad. That's very traumatizing, you know? And now that has left her to become a partial single mother because she has another child with another guy. He's a producer, and that father is involved in her second child's life, right? So she's not like a total single mom, right? She's like a partial single mom. So he basically was asking her, well, how do you deal with the grief? Did you deal with grief? You know, just let the people know what you did, right? To just be able to get through all of that. And she basically was saying how, hold on, where am I at? She basically was saying how, hold on. Well, she basically was just stating how, you know, she has not fully taken the time to grieve because she works a lot, she's a mother, she's out here, you know, promoting her projects and things of that nature. So Charlamagne was just like, wow, you know, he was encouraging her. He was like, I think that you should take that time to grieve, you know, your career and everything else is fine. It's going to be there, you know, but if you don't take that time, he basically was stating, you know, not verbatim, but he basically was stating how, you know, if you don't take the time to grieve the things that you have gone through and such traumatic experiences in your life that God has clearly brought you through, and you are still walking and thriving in your life, that shit can like eat you up, you know? So she was like, I know, you know, and so he got off that topic because he seen clearly her energy wasn't really feeling it. And, you know, they wasn't really on the same energy frequency at that time. So he just started talking about her mother now. He said, all right, well, do you talk to your son, you know, about, now he started talking about her children, you know, and I respect all children. I love children. I am a mother as well. And he basically was asking her, well, have you spoke to your son about it? Do you guys speak and things like that? And she basically said that, well, her son is a good kid and he is always okay. And no, she doesn't take the time to talk to her son. You know, he's 12, he's almost going to be a teenager, and he is obviously going to be getting into teenage things, she said. And she also says that he's shy. So I also want to talk about that, right? Because from a spiritual standpoint, as a mother, if you do not take time out of your day and, you know, take those moments with your children to talk to them, you know, and not only talk to them about like how school and what did you eat, are you hungry and things like that, but you have to like go deeper, you know, with your children. You have to ask them, well, how did this make you feel? And, you know, how are you emotionally? Where are you mentally? And you have to really like, help your children to see things from like a spiritual standpoint. You know, I think that if she just takes the time to speak to her son and let him know that, well, your father, even though your father has transitioned to, you know, the other side, your father is still with you spiritually and energetically. You know, your father, he still loves you. Nothing has changed from the love that your father has felt for you and how he was there for you. You know, he's still there. You know, he's just there in a different way. You know, so continue to make the right decisions. Continue to be a good person and, you know, continue to treat people right. And, you know, I just feel as though, you know, because Young Miami, she lacks the internal, she lacks an internal compass, right? She lacks the spiritual guidance herself. And I feel like until she heals, that is taking away from also her children's growth, right? Because as a mother, the more you heal and the better you become emotionally, mentally, spiritually, like just the better you become overall as a human being on God's green earth, the better your children will become, the better off they will be in their lives, in their future. Because when you heal yourself, you have to understand something about your spirituality. When you heal something within yourself, you heal your entire bloodline. And no, this is no easy task. This shit takes intense work. This takes real work. This is not, you know, it doesn't take work of like, oh yeah, well, I'm gonna go buy a new car and I'm gonna go buy a new house and I'm gonna get my new bust down 30-inch lace wig and yeah, I'm gonna get my nails done. No, I'm talking internal. When you go inside and face the things inside of you, right, that you have been suffering from, that you went through, that you know you need to heal and fix, right, you become a better person. You even start to shine different. You don't look the same anymore because you are transforming. Remember the butterfly. Does a butterfly look anything like does a caterpillar look anything like a butterfly? No, right? And that's what's going to happen to you if you just go inside and begin to heal yourself, and then you will begin to heal your children, and then it will trickle down your bloodline, right? And I think all of our bloodlines, we need that healing. Because if you think about your ancestors, I don't know how in tune any of you are with your ancestors. Your ancestors are the people that you have lost throughout your journey. Your ancestors are the people that you have lost. Not that you have lost, but the people that you didn't even know that came before you was even born and thought of in your mother's womb. Your ancestors are all the people that were on the other side. Your ancestors are people that are from hundreds of years ago that lived this earth that you don't even know shit about, but they did walk this earth. They were here, and you know they transitioned to their new life. You know, so I think we need to also start having more respect for our ancestors, right? So. Yeah, so that's all I have to say about that. I think, you know, I'm giving Young Miami this spiritual guidance because I think not only does she need it, but she's a mother and her children are coming up after her and they need the spiritual guidance as well. We all do. I'm no different from you. You know, I've had to do intense, serious, hard fucking work in my life to even be who I am today. I'm not perfect, right? I have made mistakes, you know, and you know, I own up to the shit too, you know, and I just want to be a better person every day, you know, and I'm not even where the fuck I want to be, you know, type shit, you know, but I know if I keep going, then I will get there, right? So there's that. We can move on to the next point. Yeah, so I touched on that. Refuses to do internal work. She needs to start a spiritual journey as soon as possible for the sake of herself, her kids, and her overall health and growth. So at 35 minutes, Yeah, so at 35 minutes, she admitted to being like a workaholic and how she doesn't know how to rest, you know, because she did have to grow up quick. So we're gonna go all the way back to her childhood for a second. Young Miami had a very traumatic upbringing, as a lot of us do, right? She grew up being raised by her mother. I believe her mother was a single mother, and you know, her mother, you know, they grew up in the hood of Miami, and you know, due to the lack of financial abundance, the mother started to become a professional booster, and that got her in some trouble. She actually went to jail for a very long time, but she is out now. Congratulations to the mom. That's beautiful to get through that, right? Because not everybody makes it out of that situation. So that caused Young Miami, you know, the mother's mistakes. I just want you to see, oh my God, I want you to see how, and I don't mean to laugh, right? I am just, let's just continue. The mother's mistakes, look how it affected Young Miami as her child, you know. Yes, the mother just wanted to be able to provide for the child. The mother just wanted to be able to give the children, you know, the things that she felt that they needed. But with her doing that, that shit not only set her back, but it also set her child up to grow up faster than she wanted to, you know, or even that she needed to, right? But God makes no mistakes. Everything is what it is. And, you know, so Young Miami was expressing how, you know, because of the situation that her mother put her in, she had to grow up quick. She was down at the welfare office filling out applications as an adult because she didn't have her mother physically. Her mother was in jail, right? She had to look out for her siblings and children that her mother was supposed to be caring for, but because her mother got caught up in some shit, she now, you know, the responsibilities now fell on her. And, you know, that caused her to grow up quick. So she explained how she doesn't really know how to rest. And I want to touch on that. That's very important because we was talking about how she has attachment issues, which is the situation with Diddy, because she is materialistic. She didn't say that in the video, but I can see that. And she also, and then the situation with like her children and stuff like that, and the whole grief situation, how she has not taken the time to grieve, and she does not sit down and talk to her children. And you know, Young Miami needs to reconnect with her divine feminine energy. That's what I see. I see that, you know, because she is a workaholic, you know, she loves to work, she loves to make her coin, she loves to, you know, do what she does, you know. But if you do not, as a woman, this part right here is specifically for women, if you do not take the time out to rest, ladies, you're gonna burn yourself out. You are going to be running, and you're gonna run right into a motherfucking wall. You're not going nowhere, right? So as much as you work, you also have to rest. When you're resting in your divine feminine energy. The work is not going anywhere. Your kids, as long as they're fed, they're healthy, they're good, you know, they're in safe environments, you're loving them and shit, your kids are good. These niggas, fuck them. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, if it's not your husband, fuck them. You are wasting your motherfucking time, okay? So I just wanted to expound on that. So I hope that resonates with who it needs to resonate with. Now we can move on. She even said how she began to follow in her mother's footsteps due to poverty, which is a generational curse. When you see that someone has done something that obviously didn't work and landed them in some hard shit, and then you go ahead and repeat the same shit, that's a generational curse. Because you already know the outcome, right? You already know where that's potentially gonna lead you. So why would you follow that? You know, you're living in a generational curse, and I pray that you are able to break the chains off your bloodline, right? Because yes, we love our ancestors and we respect our ancestors, but we have to, at some point, be the change, right? And make the change for the rest of the generations coming up after you. And who are the people that are coming up after you, ladies and gentlemen? That is your children, your little cousins, nieces and nephews. Everybody that's coming up after you. You know, you're a millennial. Okay, so I'm talking about the Gen Zers and the alphas. I think it's the alphas, the ones that's underneath the Gen Zers. Them children are all coming up after you. So if they see you do something and they look up to you, they're gonna follow it, right? So I think we all just need to remember that. It's very, very important to break the generational curses that have our bloodlines in a chokehold. Also, she's very materialistic. She needs to do soul work ASAP. I'm just reading. When you see me look down, I'm just reading my notes. So don't mind that. I'm just making sure that I am dotting my I's and crossing my T's. So 35. That was at 35 minutes. You can check all of that when I said about around 35 minutes. Now we can go to the next point. The next point is at around 36 minutes. Whew, and I'm hot. 36 minutes. Charlamagne asked her, you know, what does she care about, right? Basically. And she basically says that she only cares about herself and her children. Now that brought me to my next point. So I wrote down lost empathy for others, which means she doesn't care about her fans. She only cares about her and her kids. Young Miami also has trust issues, right? And you know, that's going to bring me to this next point. I wanted to save this to the end, but I'm going to put it in now. What is the situation with Young Miami's father? I have seen them do TikToks and Instagrams and things like that, but I peeped throughout the entire video, the entire interview. She didn't say one thing about her father. She spoke about her mother. She spoke about her kids, her career, JT. She spoke about everything, but she didn't say nothing about her father. And I think that's very strange, right? So yeah, she also has trust issues. And I think that may stem from daddy issues, right? I don't think maybe the father was there in the beginning of her life and he came around after the success, which is fucked up, you know? But she may have forgiven him in some sort of way to allow him in her space and in her life, in her children's life. But I can see, yeah, she has trust issues because she can't, it's like, and this brings me to my next point, right? She says she only cares about her and her kids, right? Which we already know she doesn't care about her fans because she would have said that. If you care about something, you're going to say it. She didn't say nothing about her fans. But notice how in the beginning of this video, I said that she has attachment issues and it's very hard for her to detach from Diddy. So it's crazy how you can, oh yeah, she says that she basically, she basically was stating that she only cares about her kids because she has lost empathy for others. Because she has gone through everything that she has gone through, and she can't, in her mind, she can't really sum it all up, right? She can't really, sometimes you have the pieces to the puzzles, but you can't quite make them fit, right? So I think that Young Miami is very knowledgeable to a certain extent, but I think that she just needs a little bit of a push, right? To push those puzzle pieces into place, to help her truly understand shit. But yeah, I just found it crazy how you can't trust, she said, she was saying, like, I don't really trust nobody, I just care about me and my kids. But you're still attached to a man that was convicted, arrested, and charged because he has provided you with this abundance of success that you didn't have before. You felt as though it was out of reach, but the truth is it wasn't out of reach. You was on your way to that level, but you couldn't see it at the time. So you went a different route to get the things that you wanted. Again, I think she's very materialistic. And then Charlamagne also asked her around 36 minutes, how did the Diddy situation affect you? And she said that she lost so much. She said she lost so much from the situation. She said she lost brand deals and collaborations and money and this and that. So if going through a situation, being connected to someone has made you lose so much in your life, your money, your brand deals and collabs and relationships. If being connected to, you have to understand this. Oh my God. If being connected to someone has made you lose so much in your life, why? Young Miami, you have to ask yourself this. Why are you still choosing to be connected to someone that has made you lose so much? Do you guys understand what I'm saying? Everything is spiritual. If a job is not working out, leave. If you being connected to someone is clearly not working out, leave. If a place is bringing down your energy levels, leave. She understands, but she's not executing the release. She knows that being connected to Diddy has caused her to lose so much, but yet she is choosing to stay connected to him, writing the letters to the judge, trying to get that man free. Still choosing to publicly be attached to him in sake of your career and your own fucking life. I don't know if this man has put some sort of fear in her, or she's just truly materialistic because of the things that he provided for her when he was out and they were together. I don't know. Those are questions she has to ask herself. But we can move on. But I do hope you all are learning something by this video. Now let's go on to, this was also around 36 minutes I have down here, and she spoke about, Charlamagne asked her, well, I know you're close with Trina. Shout out to Trina. I don't know her zodiac sign, but shout out to her. She is one of the GOATs, right, in the female rap game. And, I think they're cousins, or maybe they just grew up around each other and in each other's circle and things like that. But Charlamagne asked her, how did Trina have an impact on your career, and just like your overall life, because I know you guys come from the same city, y'all are cousins, whatever. And I found what she said a little kind of like wonky, she said that Trina basically told her to always, know the business. That's good, right? To, watch who you date, don't let these niggas play you and shit like that, which, okay, that's good as well. But then she also said other things. I'm only talking about the shit I care about. But then she said, and Trina also told her to always leave a relationship with something. Now I sat and thought, I had to pause the interview for a second. I had to ponder on this shit. I was like, always leave a relationship with something. The fuck is she talking about? Like, it sounds like she's talking about materialistically. And if she is, right? Because I don't know. If she is, she could be, right? But I just want to use this moment to educate the general public. When a relationship ends, right? Follow me. When a relationship ends in your life, a romantic relationship, the first thing on your brain should not be, oh, well, shit, I need to make sure that I'm leaving with the house, the car, and I'm getting half of his fucking pension and 401k. That, my friend, would make you very materialistic. I think the first thing your brain should go to is things that are not materialistic. I think that the non-materialistic things of life is way more important than the materials. When you leave a relationship, you should want to leave with your whole self intact, right? Not a fucking missing eyeball, not a missing hand or arm, not a fucking missing nipple, not a missing lip, not a missing eyebrow, not a missing ear, right? Then you should want to leave with your integrity. Your integrity is the values and morals that you lead your life with, which is your core. That's your core of who you are, how you move, and how you operate in this life. So there's that. You should also want to leave a romantic relationship with your peace. Peace is something that if you just mold it the right way, nobody will be able to ever take your peace. Not a family, not a friend, not a lover, not your children, not your job, not the hardships that may come into your life. You will always be able to center yourself in your peace. And another thing, I'm not gonna give y'all everything because y'all can figure out the rest of where I'm going with this. But the next thing I think you should want to leave, the next two things that you should want to leave a romantic relationship with is your strength. It's your strength that brought you through that shit, right? If you was not who you are and you was not as strong as you are, you would have never made it out. A lot of people don't make it out. You know how many people right now are stuck in relationships that they think are the right relationships? They think that this is the right person, and they think that they are just running their life like the right way, and it's not. That is actually a karmic partner. You were supposed to leave them a long time ago, and they are draining the fuck out of you. And the last thing you should want to leave your relationship, there's much more things, right? But I'm not going to give y'all a list of 10 things. Y'all can figure out the rest. The last thing I think you should want to leave a romantic relationship with is your self-love. Your self-love is another thing that somebody, no matter what you go through in this life, if you just continue to choose to love yourself always and forever, can't shit nobody say to you or do to you that can break you, because you love you. You love you regardless if you have a man or not. You love you whether you lost a job or not. You love you whether they love you or not. Always love yourself, ladies and gentlemen. I had to learn that as well. So let's go to the next point. The next point is, the next point is, I'm going to touch on this. At around 35 minutes, they were talking, I believe they were talking about, I believe they were talking about how, because Young Miami did an interview, not the one with Charlamagne. This was another platform. And, somebody asked her, the interviewer asked her, what type of man do you want to be with? What type of man do you need at this point? We know you already dated Diddy. You dated, I think his name is 808 Mafia, which is her second child's father, something like that. Please comment down below if I'm wrong, right? Please forgive me. And we know her child's father, God rest his soul, she also dated him. Obviously, anything else before that is irrelevant because she was a child. So around 35 minutes, she says that she needs a man with 100 mil. And I think that right there too is speaking volumes on the type of person that she is, and how she does need a lot of work. Because I'm not saying that it's wrong to want to be with a rich man. That's not wrong. If you want a rich man, and rich nigga, that's my type. Shout out to Sweetie, that's my type. Sweetie raps a lot about that. But and she also, and then Charlamagne said, well, okay, now after he had heard her speak about her past and this and her mommy issues and her the grief and this and that, the situation with Diddy, he says, oh, okay, now I understand why you want a man with 100 mil, because you dated Diddy, and she says, yeah, she wants to be taken care of and spoiled. And you know where that's from, right? That's from, and when she speaks like this, she's speaking from a materialistic standpoint, right? She's not speaking of, she wants to come home and her man rubs her feet. She wants to come home from a long day of work and her man cooked dinner and got the plate ready right there on the dinner table. She's not speaking about them going on a spiritual retreat together, right, to learn more about each other. She's not speaking about that. She's speaking about all things materialistically, and it comes from her hardships. It comes from her past. It comes from her childhood. The fact that she grew up in poverty in Miami, in the hood, and she didn't have much, but, where she is today, she has accumulated this success. So in her mind, she believes that materials are everything, right? And not only that, but she's operating in Hollywood, where most of the people in Hollywood mostly care about materialistics, and which is why sometimes they can struggle a lot, because if you only care about materialistic things, you're not feeding your soul. You're not truly loving yourself. You go through some shit, maybe you're in the headlines, or maybe you have a big breakup with someone, or maybe your album flops, and you decide to, well, fuck it, I'm going to Chanel. Take me to Chanel. Like, you think that you need to go on a shopping spree to Chanel to fix your inner problems. No. What you need to do is you need to take a step back, have everything that you need to have in place around you so you can take that time for yourself. Take a solo vacation, sit in the sun, read your Bible, pray, meditate, go for a swim. Ask yourself the hard questions while you're there. That's really what you need. You don't need to buy another Chanel bag, a Birkin, a fucking i8, a Maybach, a fucking Rolls Royce, a new house. Like, people are missing the point. A lot of people are missing the point. So I wrote, refusing to realize her power, her success, and her self-sufficiency. She wants a man with 100 million because she believes that she can accumulate that herself. And we're going to move on to the next point. That's 35. Let's go to 38 minutes. Around 38 minutes, hold on. All right, I'm back. Around 38 minutes, I'm going to get a little close with you guys and talk to you guys about this part, because my baby's home, and, this part is kind of inappropriate. It's inappropriate for children. So around 38 minutes, Charlamagne asked her about the Carisha Please podcast, and if she thinks it's going to come back, that she wanted to come back and things like that. And they also spoke about how, remember on one of the episodes when Carisha, they was playing like the Carisha Please card game, and she was like, I think it was Trina that was on the episode, and how the card came up about how, has she ever gotten like a golden shower or something like that? And Trina said, no, have you? And she said, yes, right? So stay with me. Now, when Charlamagne asked her about this, and if it was true, she said no. So number one, she's lying. No woman in their right mind is going to speak about no shit like that if it was not true. Because why would you want that sort of headline, and why would you want that connected to you, right? If you were in your right state of mind. So clearly she was very intoxicated. They were drinking and smoking hookah. So she was very intoxicated. But I want to point out this point as well. When you are inebriated, the truth comes out, right? So she's lying. She has experienced that. It's just that now, because she is trying to make like a brand change, an image change, she's trying to elevate, her image, or maybe her team has told her, well, just lie. Say that you didn't mean to say that. That was a lie. You were just fucking around. She's lying. So yeah, I wrote lying about her sexual encounters, even though she created that headline. So she refuses to lack accountability for her life and her life's decisions, not standing in her power. So we can leave that there. Okay, now we're at around 41 minutes. Around 41 minutes, Charlamagne asks her about her social media presence, basically. How, he asked her, like, how do you feel about all the backlash that you get? How do you feel about the things that you post on social media? How do you feel about, when you're twerking on social media and people talking shit about you, they think they know you, blue. She went on to state that no one knows the real her, only her and her people. So again, no accountability for her life and her life's decisions. You choose, Young Miami, do you not realize that you choose to get on live with Saucy Santana and talk that hot shit? You choose to post videos and let people record you of you twerking in the club? you choose to tweet out certain shit on Twitter, X, whatever the fuck y'all call it. I don't know. I don't have that fucking platform. I haven't had it in years. So there's that. But you choose to tweet these things and say these things, but now you're stating that no one knows the truth and know who you are. I think that you are putting up a facade. I also think that you are in denial about your alter ego that you created. You created Young Miami. You may have not created the name, because I think I don't know if you created the name or QC and P and your team created that for you and JT. I don't know. I think they created the City Girl's name, but Young Miami, I think you created that, and JT is JT. I don't know. However the way the fuck it goes, I just believe that you are living in a facade, and I do believe that you are in denial about the alter ego that you created. If you decide to create an alter ego, right, you gotta stand in that. You have to stand in that, and you have to be ready to answer questions that people have for you. You're the one that created it. So I think that Young Miami can be so much more powerful if she gets over the bad delusion that she is having currently, heal her attachment issues, and actually decide to stand in her fucking woman power and stop being so fucking afraid. You know what you'll be doing, Young Miami, and you want to get on these platforms and try to front like we can't see you. I don't know how anybody else will feel about the interview. Maybe they like it and maybe they're feeling it because they can't see, but I can see you, Young Miami, and I think you have major issues to fix. Because again, if you choose not to heal yourself and become a better person and make wiser decisions and just begin to be strategic and start thinking before you act, I think you will finally be able to stand in your power as a woman, as a female rap artist. I think that you will be able to gain the respect that you're looking for. I can see that you want to be respected. You want to be respected as an artist. You want to be respected as a mother. You want to be respected as far as love goes. But I just think you have so much work to do. And hey, nobody's perfect. I promise you that. I'm not perfect, right? But I have done a lot of work on myself internally to know who I am today, right? So, yeah, let me just go over everything and make sure I hit every point. Oh, we have one more point to hit, which was around 43 minutes. At about 43 minutes in the interview, Charlamagne asks her, well, about the music. This is about the music now. He basically was bigging her up. He was encouraging her and loving on her, essentially, and letting her know, well, I really like this song of yours, and I really like this song of yours, so why don't you make more music like this, And she went on to basically state that, well, we all female rappers talk about the same shit. Raggy? Somebody's asking you, so okay, let's run this back. So somebody's asking you, why don't you make music like this? Because they fuck with it. Like, that shit is hard. They really like this sound coming from you. And instead of you answering the question from your own, from like a personal standpoint, you project onto the rest of the female rappers in the industry by stating, we all talk about the same shit these days. She says something, it's not verbatim, but when you watch it, you'll see what the fuck I'm saying. So what I got from that is that Young Miami is afraid to really branch out and create something new and authentic, which is something, if you remember in the beginning of this video, that's one thing that she says that she is. She says that she is real, raw, and authentic. So no, she's not. Because somebody asked you about you and your music, and why don't you make music like this because they fuck with it, and you sound really nice with this sound. You projected that onto the whole female rap, the whole female rap people. We all talk about the same shit. Young Miami, I think if you take a listen to this video and jot down the things that I said you should work on, I think that it will do you incredible good things in your life. At this time, you are very delusional in a bad way. You have attachment issues, and you are afraid to really stand in your woman divine power, and don't forget to talk to your kids, find balance in your life. You're gonna be okay. At the end of the day, and as far as your love life, to attract a man that truly loves you and has 100 million in the bank, they're not just looking for someone that is physically attractive and has a great body and a great face and keep themselves up physically, right? These men are looking for someone that is spiritually inclined, someone that is spiritually healthy, someone that is confident, and someone who knows who they are. So I think you have a lot of work to do. If I was you, I would start getting on it now, because the future waits for nobody. So I do love you, and I wish you the best. And girl, I'm gonna be watching. I'm gonna be watching, girl. So everybody else, I hope you enjoyed, and yeah, I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.